Welcome, everyone, to the Association for Mormon Letters annual awards ceremony honoring published works in 2023, as well as Lifetime Achievement Awards. I know that everyone has been waiting for this day. This is bigger than the Emmys, bigger than the Oscars. I've got my popcorn. Unfortunately, our budget is not as big as the Emmys or the Oscars. So if those of you being honored tonight could just do me a favor and find a carpet of your chosen color and take a picture of your gala outfit that I'm sure you're wearing, because this is the most important event you're doing this year, post it on social media because I'd love to compare red carpet looks. My name is Janine B. And I had a slide I was going to read from, but I'll see if I can remember what was there. Oh, perfect. Here we go. I'm the fiction editor for Wayfair Magazine. I write fiction and creative nonfiction. I'm also a ward organist and a mom of four and a former youth in Zion myself. And I provided as proof for you here a picture of a rehearsal at our roadshow competition, which we totally won, by the way. And if that's not the most Mormon thing you can do, I don't know what is. For the record, when I was this age, I was like 17, and my favorite Mormon literature at that time was The Great Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. The Association for Mormon Letters, has been giving awards for literary works annually since 1978. The finalists and winners in each category are chosen by juries of authors, academics, and critics. So as we move forward, for each award, I will announce the winner, and then I will read from the award citation written by the judges. At that point, if the author or creator is here, then we're going to invite them to say a few words of acceptance. All the citations that I'm going to read will be published on the AML blog, Dawning of a Brighter Day. And after the awards are presented, we're going to keep going on this same call for an author readings event. It'll be on the live stream as well. So we're going to start the evening with the 2024 Smith Pettit Foundation Award for Outstanding Contribution to Mormon Letters, which we are presenting to Shannon Hale. She's fantastic. I love her books. My kids love her books. I'm so excited for this. I will read from the citation, which was written by Emma Tuller Stone. In 2006, Shannon Hale's middle grade novel, Princess Academy, 2005, was awarded the Newbery Honor Medal, catapulting the book up the New York Times bestseller list and into the homes of children across the world. It's the story of an adolescent girl, Miri, who attends an academy to learn to be a princess, and, as Hale has described it, a love letter to education. At the eponymous Princess Academy, Miri learns to read, but she also learns what it means to belong in a community, as well as discovering the secrets about how her culture's magic works. She comes to love stories enough that even when she's the top student in the academy and is offered a life away from home to live beyond her wildest dreams, she turns it down. Reading and stories made her love her home, her family, and her people enough to stay, open an academy, empower other girls around her, and invent her own path into her future with her people at her side. Princess Academy is only one of Hale's books, but it's a fitting metaphor for the core of many of her stories. From her first series, The Books of Bayern, which includes The Goose Girl, to her recent Princess in Black books and Real Friends graphic novels, Hale's stories have often focused on young women who reject the scripts they are given and reinvent the world around them as a result. From retelling fairy tales to insisting that a princess could also, obviously, be a secret assassin, Hale, as she explained in her blog, is always trying to make them, her characters, feel like real people. Starting her career with a series of fairy tale retellings, Hale's Books of Bayern series reimagines the Brothers Grimm story, The Goose Girl, in a fantasy kingdom populated by dreamy princes, brave friends, and surprisingly helpful flocks of geese. The books in this series won AML awards for young adult fiction, as well as the Josette Frank Award for Fiction in 2004, and a place on the American Library Association Top 10 Books for Teens. Hale has also published Book of a Thousand Days, based on the Grimm brothers story Maid Maylene, and the Rapunzel's Revenge middle grade graphic novel series. But not all of Hale's books have been for young people or based on Grimm fairy tales. Venturing into the world of adult fantasies, her first adult novel, Austenland, examines the ways stories can seep into a protagonist's consciousness as she adventures into a world of Jane Austen's make-believe that turns out to be real. Austenland was made into a film directed by Jerusha Hess and starring Kerry Russell. It premiered in 2013 and has since become a beloved cult classic. In her Real Friends graphic novels, illustrated and co-created with Le Yun Pham, Hale hilariously and heartwarmingly depicts her struggles with friendship and anxiety growing up. In this series, she is open about how experiences with religion influenced and even added to scrupulosity, making overt an ongoing issue in the Latter-day Saint community. In a publishing industry that often shies away from depicting religion, Hale has been determined to keep images of her family going to church in the story, saying in an interview that it would feel wrong not to have that part of her life present in the story. Co-written with her husband Dean Hale and again illustrated by Le Yun Pham, Hale's Princess in Black series for young readers follows Princess Magnolia as she lives both the life of a typical traditional princess while simultaneously subverting stereotypes with her monster-fighting secret identity, the Princess in Black. Hale was inspired to write this story after her daughter insisted that princesses don't wear black. Like in many of her other stories, Hale set out to prove that even this rule has powerful, hilarious, and important exceptions. Recently, Hale has written about and focused on the often absurd and broken ways young people's reading is gendered. In posts on her blog and newspaper interviews, she has talked about watching boys being told that her books, girl books, are not for them. Hale is fighting this bravely, rejecting the idea that books about girls can't be for everyone, both for the girls who yearn to be main characters and the boys who would love her books if only given a chance. Hale has written across audiences, genres, ages, and mediums, but there's something about her work that always reminds me of what I first loved about the Princess Academy, a promise that no matter where one is, there's a story there. And that stories always offer the possibility that there is something worth adventuring for and something beautiful in every setting to return to. In consistently creating glorious, real characters who fight for the communities and people they love while refusing to be placed in easy stereotypes or caricatures, Hale has created a body of work that seems to constantly affirm, just like Mary does in Princess Academy, when she is gifted her own books, that reading those books had changed her, and she could not wait to let the whole village feel that difference. Shannon, we have Shannon Hale on the call. Shannon, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Hello. Thank you so much. This is so beautiful. Hello, Carol. I see some friendly faces. um, this is a really amazing and unexpected award for me. But as I'm sitting here, I'm wondering how many people here have felt the same way that I always have, like I didn't quite fit. I don't quite fit. It didn't quite fit in my Mormon ward or neighborhood, and I didn't quite fit in, wherever I traveled in the book world. I felt like the book world's a little suspicious of me, that weird Mormon Utah mom, and I felt like my weird Utah Mormon neighborhood is a little suspicious of me, this, weird progressive liberal writer out in the world being a mouthy broad on Twitter and causing a ruckus. And hearing you talk and seeing all these faces, I think this is the kind of place that understands the liminal story. And I think those are the most interesting stories, where two things come together, the valley and the mountain. And that's where real story is, that's where real connection is, and that's where real change happens. So I'm really honored to be here among you who I think are my people. I think that if we were all in a room together right now and we're chatting, there would be a much shorthand where people would start to say things and other people would just nod and go, yes, yes, I get it. And we wouldn't have to explain ourselves in the context, because we are living in the context of this strange, beautiful, odd world that we're in. So thank you so much for recognizing children's books as well. We often get, kind of shunted off to the side. And I think children's books are the heart of literature. They're the foundation. They're what build readers and help create people to become the beautiful souls that they are. So thank you to the foundation and to Emma for writing that beautiful piece about me and everybody else.
Thank you so much, Shannon. That was lovely. We love your books, and I can tell you for sure that they have led my children to love reading. And so I appreciate that personally. All right, we're going to move on to our next award tonight. We're going to give the award to the best novel from, again, this is 2023. Our finalists are Karen Anderson, John Binion, Sarah Jepson, and Sheldon Lawrence. And our winner for the novel is Karen Anderson for What Falls Away. I'm going to read the citation that was written now. As timely as ever in our social, political, and religious climate, Karen Anderson's What Falls Away depicts within the microcosm of a small Utah town the pernicious result of patriarchy and fundamentalism, where even those who wield their authority to maintain the status quo are casualties of their own repressive system. Each vividly drawn, unforgettable character bears old scars and fresh wounds. A returning daughter, once ostracized, perceived as an immoral contagion. An obedient mother processing years of repression and trauma in tears. A runaway transgender child disappearing into silence. And a proud, unyielding patriarch whose violent end prompts questions with no answers. Karen Anderson's What Falls Away suggests that any inheritance fostering divisiveness and hatred should be rejected so as to bring healing and unity into the present. Ironically, then, this novel is sure to attract both those who celebrate its final message of radical acceptance and expansive forgiveness, as well as those who may feel uncomfortable with or resistant to its fierce critique and sharp portrayal of certain LDS cultures, doctrines, and characters. In this way, it does what realist novels do best: condense, compound, and amplify vast swaths of human experience. In this case, very Mormon human experiences, in order to imagine something new, more potent, and more meaningful than the sprawling minutiae that constitutes most of our daily reality. As critic James Wood says, fiction is both artifice and verisimilitude, and there is nothing difficult in holding together these two possibilities. As Latter-day Saints, we can see both ourselves and our communities, sometimes clearly, sometimes uneasily, in Anderson's harrowing story of a religious upbringing gone wrong, as well as marvel as we do when we see a great painting or sculpture at how much more it is than our own lived experience would allow. Verisimilitude and artifice, Anderson offers us both in full measure. It is a book, like the best religiously themed novels, that transcends its overtly sectarian subject matter and speaks to a wider audience, for whom fiction serves to connect richly rendered and idiosyncratic characters to the universal questions and impulses that lurk in every human heart. Karen, we have Karen on the call. Please, would you come on and tell us about your fantastic novel and give us some words of acceptance for this well-deserved award?
Okay. Am I making sound? Turn me off really quickly if dogs start barking. I'm babysitting 3 of them and they're all hovering right around me. So I'll just read a short statement and then I'll be happy to answer questions personally at any point beyond. What Falls Away is a meditation on the meanings of origin and ambivalent remembrance. The characters are fictional, but their complexities are drawn from a time and place that were once, for me, encompassing. As a novelist, I know that human beings inflected by Mormon culture and its troubled American geographies are colorful, confounding, disparate, and compelling, which is the stuff of literature. To know this book speaks to AML readers, home readers, means more than I can express in a few words. So here I will say thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I will say I have not managed to get my hands on this one yet, and hearing your words and reading this citation about this book, I am so excited to pick this one up. It is in my Amazon cart, I will tell you that right now. All right, we're going to move on to present one of our 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards to the author and educator, Carol Lynch Williams. Carol Lynch Williams is an award-winning author of over 25 books for young readers. Her novels are masterful character studies of courageous adolescent protagonists as they overcome difficult circumstances. They are heartfelt messages of reassurance to her readers. The message is, you are powerful. Like Carolina and Carolina Autumn, you can navigate heartbreak and grief to repair a broken relationship. Like Lacey, In Miles from Ordinary, you can face the challenges of a loved one's mental illness. Like Kira in The Chosen One, you can escape abuse and indoctrination to gain freedom and independence. Carol's books say, believe in yourself. You can do difficult things. Carol grew up in Florida and now lives in Utah. She has an MFA in writing for children and young adults from Vermont College. She won the PEN Phyllis Naylor Working Writer Fellowship for her novel Glimpse and was nominated for the PEN Award for the True Colors of Caitlin Jackson. The Chosen One was named one of ALA's quick picks for the reluctant young reader and best books for young adult readers. Carol has won AML awards for My Angelica and The Chosen One, the latter set in a Mormon fundamentalist polygamist group, and also winning a Whitney Award. In addition to her nationally published works, she's written several books for young LDS readers, including the Latter-day Daughters series and Once I Was a Beehive. Carol is not only a great writer, but a captivating teacher, mentor, and speaker. Carol co-founded and has directed the annual Writing and Illustrating for Young Readers, casually known as WIFR, conference since 1999, and she is a professor of creative writing at BYU. She cares deeply about the learning and success of her students. She will take time to provide helpful feedback to a struggling writer or give personal insights on story development to groups of students in her college classes and conference workshops. Thousands of hopeful writers have benefited from Carol's wisdom and generosity, time, and attention. However, Carol will tell you that her greatest accomplishment is the raising of her 5 beautiful daughters. And from this endeavor, she has gained a spirited, creative grandson she affectionately calls Bub. He, in turn, calls her Bubby. Bub and Bubby are practically inseparable, adventurous buddies like Batman and the Joker, who they once dressed up for Halloween. Carol has a deep and abiding faith in God, which provides her with strength when times are tough, but she also has a wry sense of humor. Despite a lack of formal dance training, she's willing to strut her stuff in front of a crowd of people with reckless abandon. Whether she's oblivious to what good dancing should look like or is too caught up in the moment to care, nobody is exactly sure. We love Carol too much to say anything to stop her. Carol is many things to many people: author, teacher, mentor, mother, and grandmother. But for anyone fortunate enough, it is a privilege to call her friend. And it's a privilege tonight that we have Carol on the call. Carol, would you please like to say something to us tonight?
Oh, sorry. I have a daughter in here. Yes, I would. I've prepared some words, like 10 minutes worth. Before this, I do have to say that my little Bub said to me, "Bub, you look just like a rainbow chameleon." I'm excited about that. So there are moments that we hope to always remember. These twists and turns make up our life, our choices, and often the choices of other people lead us to where we end up, sometimes in unexpected places. And I wanted to tell you a few of those choices that have led me here to this evening. I was almost 18 on May 28th when Elder Larry Goodenough baptized me after more than a year of me begging my mother to allow me to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was already a writer, having completed several stories that eventually wound up in my first novel, Kelly and Me. Years later, after serving a death mission, "Death? Why are you going on a death mission?" people would say to me, because they just didn't understand. I arrived in Utah from Florida during one of the worst winters the state had had in years. I was freezing morning, noon, and night, and so was my sister, but I was here to stay. When I was pregnant with my 4th daughter and on bed rest, I received a telephone call from a man named Rick Walton. He introduced himself as a picture book writer, and he said, "Hey, we have a weekly critique group here in Provo." He invited me to that critique group and called me every day for the next few months until that baby was born, and I eventually attended my very first writers group. Chris Crow, yes, the Chris Crow, called me once, and he said many years ago, "What do you think would be the perfect writers conference?" John Binion, Chris Crow, and I started building what would become Writing and Illustrating for Young Readers, and later Sherry Earle joined us. So those are just a few of the twists and turns, or my choices, that have sort of helped me get to tonight. But there are more. Getting married, my 5 beautiful daughters, my books, finding my perfect agent, getting an MFA in writing for children and young adults, my nieces and nephews, who were an intricate part of my family, taking care of my mom for the last 10 years of her life, eventually being reunited with my father, though it was only for 2 years, my dearest friend since I was in 8th grade, Vicky, and writing. These events and many more have led me to this evening. It's another one of those moments I hope that I never forget. AML is a part of my story, and it has been over the years. And writing is part of who I am, most likely part of who everybody is who's here tonight. And the written word makes us kindred spirits. Thank you so much for even considering me for this honor. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, Carol, for those lovely words. I have to say, WIFR was the first writing conference that I ever attended, and it was the one that showed me what a supportive, loving, education-based writing community could look like, and it was a fantastic experience. So I really appreciate what you've done for our community. All right, thank you, Carol. We're going to move on to the award for comics. The finalists are Brittany Long Olson, Norman Shirtliff, and Anna M. Wright. And the winner is Apos by Anna M. Wright. Here is our citation. Anna M. Wright presents a thought-provoking and thoughtful exploration of faith in Apos. Wright uses the inherent and unique strengths of the comic book medium to tell a brief but powerful story of a recently returned sister missionary struggling to adjust to her new life and reflecting on her mission experiences, a chapter of a larger work in progress. Apos is evidence of Wright's significant skill in storytelling craft, as well as deftness in addressing deep and personal subject matters. Anna, if you're with us, would you please tell us a little bit about this fantastic project?
Of course, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So APOS is a slang term that was derived from my LDS mission, short for apostate. And our mission was kind of a unique insular bubble. It was the smallest mission besides Temple Square at the time. So following the White Handbook was not enough. You kind of had to go above and beyond. APOS started out as my senior project at BYU, and it was a way to express some of the darker moments from my LDS mission. It served as a sort of journal my last semester in graphic novel form. My professors were supportive, but I thought the project would have a hostile or lukewarm reception at best. I wasn't sure what would happen. I left some empty black notebooks on a table by the display. And when I came back a few days later, I was stunned to find their pages filled with stories. I was met with a new community filled with warmth and brokenness of returned missionaries who had gone through similar struggles. Many of them told me that they thought they were alone. Because of these stories, I began to see APOS as more than a journal entry. I saw it as a book. Now, a few years later, I've interviewed more than 100 returned missionaries, and I'm so grateful that they've trusted me with their stories. The full graphic novel, I'm hoping it's going to be a couple of novels spanning generations. For now, it focuses mostly on millennials and Gen Z, which I'm kind of right on the cusp of. And its aim is to capture as many perspectives as possible to create spaces of healing and discussion. My deepest hope for the project is for others to not feel alone, and to follow Christ's edict to mourn with those that mourn. Thank you so much for inviting me into this space, and thank you for this honor.
Thank you so much, Anna. Really, the comic is lovely. And I have to say, I was going over pronunciations before this began, and I was under the impression it was após, which is Portuguese for after. And I thought, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. It means after, right? No, it's APOS is how you say it.
Uh-huh.
APOS.
Yeah, but also it's such a weird, you wouldn't think it would be pronounced that way. That was just how it was said in my own mission. So Yeah, thank
Okay.
you so much.
A plus, A plus. But if you say após, you can work in the Portuguese if you'd like. It's a
Heck
lovely
yeah.
comment.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're going to move on to creative nonfiction. This category typically includes collections of personal essays and memoirs. You can see our finalists here on the page. And our winner for this year, or for 2023, is Melissa Waitzing-Inouye and Kate Holbrook, the co-editors of Every Needful Thing, Essays on the Life and of the Mind and the Heart. I apologize. Here's the award citation. This wide-ranging essay collection corrals together the personal voices and stories of LDS women from all across academia, business, and law. Each of these brilliant women opens up about her own personal journey, navigating faith and reason, love and law, and embracing the full complexity of our God-given world. Whereas previous generations of church members might have perceived an irreconcilable tension between so-called worldly pursuits and a woman's so-called divine role, this collection, put out by Deseret Book, goes a long way towards normalizing within the church the assumption that a woman's proper place is to be a leader in her field. The two editors, who have both published their own remarkable collections of essays in recent years, deserve our warmest gratitude in putting the book together. Sadly, both Kate and Melissa passed away recently, much too early. Kate in August 2022 and Melissa in April 2024. Accepting the award tonight for Kate is her husband, Samuel Brown, and her daughter, Amelia Holbrook Brown. Accepting the award for Melissa is her husband, Joseph McMullen. We're going to start with Sam if he has a few words he'd like to say.
Yeah, thank you. We are backpacking and are glad to join you and are glad to honor our beloved Kate and her good friend Melissa. It's hard to know exactly how you're supposed to accept an award on behalf of your dead wife. I think she would want it to be done with grace and compassion and intelligence. And I'll be happy if I can get one of those in the midst of it. I think what touches us the most about this award from AML, which has been a part of our lives for many years now, about 20 years, is that this is a part of Kate's mission that she felt very clearly to recover the voices of Latter-day Saint women. She loved women and men both, and felt a special call to make sure that the voices of women were well heard. And they did the Relief Society wonderful documentary history, and then what they called the Female Journal of Discourses, called At the Pulpit. And there's a sense in which this is a companion to At the Pulpit, which focused on women speaking within their leadership roles in the church in formal ecclesiastical settings. And here in this collection with Melissa, they were able to share the voices of Latter-day Saint women at work, loving the world into what it truly can be. So thank you, and thank you for remembering our sweet Kate and her work and the women she loved and assisted in their flourishing. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam,
Thank you.
sorry, I'll just go ahead. Thanks,
Yes, go
Sam,
ahead.
for what you said. Melissa loved Kate, and they were lucky to find kindred spirits in each other who shared the same mission. And I'm not sure if it was Kate's or Melissa's idea to not brand the book as a women's voices book. I know that Melissa felt strongly that it should be intelligent people speaking who just all happen to be women. But I think, you know, her mission that you so eloquently described was in line with Kate's. And I'm so grateful for the friendship they had with each other, for the long emails and conversations and edits they shared with each other, and for this incredible work that they left behind that we still have to read even after they're gone.
Thank you so much, Sam and Amelia and Joseph, and thank you for sharing these wonderful women with the world, and the world is a darker place without them, and we're so happy that they've left behind these creative works that we can all continue to cherish and grow and learn from. Our next category for awards is middle grade novel. You can see the finalists here. It's a really good group, and the winner is Chad Morris and Shelley Brown for The Wild Journey of Juniper Berry. This is Chad and Shelley's second AML award, and here's the citation. Plucky Juniper Berry knows all about the constellations and the stories behind them. She knows how to fox walk up to a grazing deer so it doesn't flinch, and she can shoot an arrow so accurately that she misses just to scare her sister. But her life in the forest, the only life she knows, comes to a frightening end when her brother gets sick and her family rushes out of the woods and back to civilization, and a family her parents had chosen to abandon long ago. Juniper Berry is thrust into a world that makes no sense. A box that does laundry, hot water that comes out of a wall, and a school where her abilities to jump and climb are not appreciated. Her cousin is embarrassed by her, and her sister has become one of them. What's more, her family does not have money to pay for her brother's hospital bills, and Juniper needs to figure out how to earn money, and a lot of it. If she doesn't get the money, she may have to stay in this crazy society forever. It turns out that Juniper's unique knowledge combined with 21st century tools might be exactly what she needs to help her family. But she has to survive civilization first. Chad Morris and Shelley Brown have created a delightfully fast-paced story that takes the reader on a truly wild journey from the life living on the land to the challenges of junior high school. Young readers will love Juniper's scrappy nature and blunt honesty. They will relate to how hard it can be to fit in with other kids who are also trying to fit in. And they will cheer as Juniper rises to meet her challenges with a little help from unexpected places. We have Chad on the call. Chad, would you like to say something?
Should I just say no and let you move on? No. I just want to say thanks. That's a great honor. Thank you for the award. Thanks for thinking of us. Shelley can't be here. She's on a plane. She's coming back from visiting her sister, but she's very grateful as well. And we just love kids' books. We love all books. But we're very honored. Love that in this one. One of my favorite things is that Juniper's never seen kids her own age before. And then she comes to this school, and the idea that she would care what other people think is like brand new to her. She's like, why would I ever care what other people think? And I love exploring that for me and for kids, and learning that there's maybe some positives to that, and there's a ton of negatives to that, and how to figure out what's the right line, because people are awesome and help us, but they can also get in the way. But you guys are fantastic. Thanks for honoring books and getting people excited about books, and we're just thrilled to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. This book sounds delightful, and I have a junior high student, and I'm very excited to get another book with a strong female lead in his hands, let me tell you. All right, next up, we're going to have a special award in nonfiction. We often give one or more special awards a year, sometimes for artistic works that do not fit neatly into the existing categories, and sometimes for works that span several years. This special award in nonfiction is being presented to Fatima Saleh and Margaret Olson Hemming for their Book of Mormon for the least of these series, volumes 1 through 3. I love this series. I've been using it in my Book of Mormon study this year, and I highly recommend if you haven't been long, you should pick up the next copy and start where you're at, because it's fantastic. Here's the citation. We are pleased to award a special award to Fatima Saleh and Margaret Olson Hemming, the authors of this exceptional commentary series. This trilogy breaks new ground with its insightful, fearless theological approach. It not only dives deep into the Book of Mormon over 3 meticulously researched and written volumes, but it also connects its teachings to today's most pressing social issues, including racism, sexism, immigration, and economic inequality. It challenges traditional interpretations and invites readers to explore the scripture's inherent richness and relevance to modern life. This approach encourages thoughtful and compassionate engagement making these volumes essential reading for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of the Book of Mormon. One standout feature of this series is its ability to humanize the authors of the Book of Mormon, highlighting their fallibility and the cultural context in which they wrote. This perspective demystifies the scripture and makes its teachings more relatable and applicable to our lives. By acknowledging the imperfections and humanity of its authors, Sala and Hemming invite readers to engage with the text critically, yet compassionately. Whether you are a lifelong member of the faith or new to the Book of Mormon, it offers a fresh and essential perspective that will enrich your understanding and appreciation of this sacred text. This is Margaret's second AML award in a row, having won an award for criticism last year. Margaret, we have Margaret on the call. Would you please like to say something?
Yes, thank you so much. So this book series was born from a series of lunches that I had with my dear friend and co-author Fatima Saleh, who couldn't be here this evening. And as we talked, we realized that there was something missing from the lessons and books that we had read about the Book of Mormon. Although there's a long tradition of reading the Bible through the lens of liberation theology, no such interpretation of the Book of Mormon as a whole existed. What followed was a 7-year project of studying the text and searching for meaning from our own social location as women and for Fatima as a woman of color. Our hope is not that readers will see this as the way of reading the Book of Mormon, but that by considering new interpretations of the text, it will empower readers to read the Book of Mormon on their own terms and to not be limited by how we have traditionally understood scripture. I also just want to say huge thanks to Association for Mormon Letters for recognizing this series and for all the good work you do in promoting literature. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Margaret, and be sure to pass along our congratulations as well to Fatima. Seriously, this book is fantastic. I carry it with me to Sunday school just in case I need to correct someone. All right, next we're going to move along to the religious nonfiction finalists. This category includes devotional works, books on scripture, and academic studies of any aspect of Mormonism. History books, however, are not considered, as the Mormon History Association has its own awards that covers those books. The finalists, there's a lot of authors, so I'm not going to list them all out. You can see them here. I'm sure all of these books are fantastic, but the winner tonight is Joseph M. Spencer, A Word in Season, Isaiah's Reception in the Book of Mormon. Readers of the Book of Mormon have long known of its intimate relationship with the Bible. More than a few authors have cataloged the presence of the King James translation in the 19th century book, usually framed as plagiarisms. Spencer and a scattering of other scholars have emerged to help us reconsider the complexity of this relationship. While less thoughtful voices have asserted that Isaiah's prevalence in the Book of Mormon is to emphasize the importance of the Old Testament book, or more cynically, to fill space, Spencer shows how different narrators use Isaiah for their own purposes. These intertexts, as Spencer aptly demonstrates, move forward the book's narrative, reveal ruptures in Book of Mormon societies, provide apocalyptic commentary, and even considers its own importance as a future book. Future studies of Joseph Smith's scriptural production would be incomplete without considering Spencer's insights. A Word in Season is a highly readable, deeply thoughtful, and well-argued consideration of Isaiah's presence in the Book of Mormon. It is a welcome testament to the advancement of the field of Book of Mormon studies and to its author, Joseph Spencer, as one of the leading voices in Latter-day Saint scriptural interpretation today. Joseph, would you please like to say something?
Yeah, thank you for this award, this honor. It's not going to be often that a book on Isaiah and the Book of Mormon wins an award, but it's a real honor. My aim with the book was primarily to try to reframe the way we're asking questions about thorny problems like Isaiah and the Book of Mormon, and it opens up a space within which we can see the Book of Mormon as a book about books, which is, I think, quite apropos in the context of the Association for Mormon Letters. So my thank you to the association for the support it gives to scholarship, as well as so much of what's going on in the literary arts. Just a great honor, and so glad to be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Let me tell you, my to-read list is just getting longer. All right, we're going to move on to the drama category. This category recognizes plays that premiered in 2023. We have some great options here, and the winner is The Principal Wife. Taylor Vaughn and Mark Greenhall are authors of the book and lyrics, and Jonathan Keith composed the music. The Principal Wife tackles an artistically underexplored time in Mormon history, the end of polygamy, based on a true story of early Latter-day Saints. The musical uses big emotions, meaty roles, and surprising heft to tell a thorny story of a polygamous family, taking place over many years and filled with natural, largely realistic conflict. The musical draws on popular blockbuster-style musical stylings, wielding them to good effect, and is filled with well-drawn characters, especially two of the wives, Rebecca and Sarah. The story also involves an outsider that knows Rebecca from before her conversion, introducing additional productive complexities. The playwrights shy away from some of the more complicated possibilities of its premise as it concludes, neatly tying up with rich dynamics of dissatisfaction on display earlier in the play. Yet the principal wife entertains with believable, memorable dialogue and keeps the audience engaged, unsure about where the story is going until the final moments. May Mormon drama and arts follow the principal wife's example of pursuing underexplored periods and themes, focusing on rich interpersonal dynamics and blending blockbuster and pop stylings with high craftsmanship to do so. Would the creators of this fantastic play like to say something?
You bet. You bet. Can you hear me okay? Thank you very much. We appreciate the Association for Mormon Letters. It's kind of a huge honor for us. I'd like to thank, naturally, my writing partner, Mark Greenhall, who was actually my former missionary companion back in the day. We were fortunate enough to be in Scott Card's class as writers back at BYU back in the day too. So that dates us a lot. But being in Hollywood for this many years, it's not uncommon for everybody to be struggling as long as we have. But because of finding this amazing savant prodigy composer that we did, and for our wives that are so patient to put up with us during this whole thing, it's kind of an awesome thing. But with having so many people that always said to us, so what's the big deal with polygamy? You all seem pretty legit, but this makes you crazy. This just makes you insane. And because we were asked that question so many times, we just said, let's just hit that head on and answer that question and just really go after it. And it ended up being much more funny. As a matter of fact, in a reading we did at USC, the greatest experience that we had was afterwards. We asked for a Q&A, and we said, so as we were asking questions, one woman stood up and said, you don't know me. You have no idea who I am, but I'm here because my roommate performed as one of your leads tonight. And as such, she said, I am blown away. I had no idea, but I didn't know that you had to be asked to live polygamy by one of your ecclesiastical leaders. I didn't know you could say no. I didn't know it was so stinking hard. I didn't know it wasn't about men not having intimacy with women whenever they wanted. And I didn't know that it ended. And she goes, but the real reason I'm standing up to say something to you is because I'm supposed to be married next month to a Mormon guy. And my parents are freaking out, thinking I'm going to get taken away into a cult and disappear forever. And she goes, I am marrying this guy with gusto. I had no idea that this was really the truth of what's going on. She goes, I feel totally better about getting married to my guy. She said, this is the best. And we never expected that kind of response. But from then on, we always felt we had something special, but that was just an affirmation of that. So as Stephen Schwartz said, writing a musical is like rocket science, but writing an original musical is like rocket science and brain surgery together. And as we know from the amount of years we've been doing this, just ask Jonathan for the last 10 years of doing the music, and having just finished the cast album for this, we're very grateful for not just the patience, but the inspiration we have felt all along the way. So this is kind of a very cool thing for us. So thanks so much. We appreciate it. And Mark Greenhalgh is actually at the Hollywood Bowl tonight. So if you can hear us, you can step in here. Don't know if he can, but he's at the Bowl. So amidst Jonathan, he's on a plane. So anyway, I guess I'll speak for all of us. Thank you very much for having us. It's really a privilege. And the irony also is that we could not get anybody to bite down on this. There's like no way do we want to touch this subject, but as it played in Provo, Utah, and became more and more popular, it became evident that we had something very, very special. So we still do. We're grateful for it. Thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you, Taylor. And thank you, all of you fantastic nominees and winners for this award. I think the theatrical arts are so important. And like that wonderful story that you told, it's a way to really touch people. And I'm so grateful for all that you do, because anytime we can get new theater out there, I'm happy to see it. All right, we're going to move on to the short fiction category. We have quite a few finalists here. This was a great 2023 was a great year for short fiction, I can tell you. And the winner is Stephen Peck for Sister Carvalho's excellent Relief Society lesson. Here's the award citation. Steve Peck's story is superb. Like all the best stories, this one starts strong, proceeds with unexpectedly appropriate speed through escalation and crisis, and ends in transformation. Peck takes a situation that is all too familiar in our congregations today. How easily we become divided into hostile camps in our wards over politics, supporting two separate products, or such issues as masks or no masks during COVID, and presents through his story how inflated and silly our animosity towards each other is. He invents Sister Carvalho and her husband, a non-LDS couple moving into Pleasant Grove, who are confused with a couple that are actually members of the church, and brings them into a ward that gives them the responsibilities of Sunday school president and Relief Society teacher. When animosity arises that brings two factions of the Relief Society into bitterness and acrimony, Sister Carvalho gives them a lesson that helps them realize how inflated and petty their grievances against each other are. One judge said the story not only fully engaged this judge's intellectual appreciation of literary capability, but also touched her heart deeply enough to make her weep. Sister Carvalho's excellent Relief Society lesson is superbly written and imagined, and well deserves the 2023 AML Award in short fiction. This is Steve's 5th AML Award, including a Smith Pettit Award for outstanding contribution to Mormon letters a couple of years ago. Steve, are you on? We'd love to hear from you.
I am. Thank you so much for that generous citation and for this wonderful award. I love the AML. I love what they do. I'm really touched to receive this today, so I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for Andrew Hall and Robert Raleigh. Their construction of this book is a wonderful, wonderful compilation of short stories. And I just want to thank. There's people I always forget to thank, and there's an entire group of people I always forget to thank that I want to thank. And I'm grateful for the editors in my life, the readers who aren't afraid to challenge me and say this doesn't work or this is crap or whatever. And for me, having a community of writers that believe in me and I believe in them, that I can rely on that to see me through this. I want to really genuinely acknowledge the role that they play in my life and how important that has been to my writing process. And so I'm grateful to the AML. I'm grateful for this award. I'm grateful for the people that are involved in the AML. And so thank you all very much.
Thank you, Steve. This short story was fantastic. If any of you haven't read it, you should pick it up. Which brings me to our next special award, which is for short fiction. And this has been given to The Path and the Gate, an anthology of Mormon short fiction. And this is the book that you can find Stephen Peck's Sister Carvalho's excellent Relief Society lesson in, as well as a slew of other fantastic short stories. This has been edited by our very own Andrew Hall and Robert Raleigh. And here's the citation. It might be enough to merely quote from the earnest and informative introductions by the two editors of this most excellent collection, so worthy of a special award because of the consistently inspiring content and craft of every individual story within it. From Andrew Hall, good stories can benefit from having a prompt, a roadmap with goals and potential rewards. We gave the authors of this collection the passage from 2 Nephi 31 that speaks of a path and gate to salvation, and asked them to write a Mormon story. The authors responded with a wide range of tales, some realistic, others fantastic. Taken together, these stories display the vast expanse of experiences and opportunities in a universe encoded with diversity and free will. It is a comfort to have a roadmap, but what really excites me is to see how that roadmap can lead to limitless destinations. And from Robert Raleigh, this collection is evidence that Mormonism has left its imprint on the world, not just as a religion, but as a cultural force, and that the directions of its cultural expressions show us how to use our own inner compasses to find our way through the modern landscape. We would add to these declarations of success by pointing not only to variety and effectiveness of content, but to genuine originality and brilliance of craft in these 23 stories. Each one demonstrates a mature, distinct voice, a finely honed take on Mormon principles and practices, and mastery of structure and form so deserving of praise that we could give each one an individual star-studded award. And so we must give a collective one here, appreciating in combination the fine work of the editors in bringing together so many varied, pleasurable, and highly effective pieces of short fiction. This collection is exemplary. We are pleased to acknowledge both editors and every author included herein with this award. Robert and Andrew, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and start first. Yeah, I just wanted to say that special thanks to Andrew for all the hard work that he did on the collection with me. This whole thing kind of got started because I had been reading some interesting Mormon fiction and writing reviews out on Goodreads, and Andrew sort of scours the internet looking for people who are writing about or interested in good fiction, and he reached out to me, and that kicked off a conversation that ended with us working on this collection, and it was a really fun process. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about this was how many great stories we got. Sadly, we weren't able to publish in this collection all the great work that we got, but I was also very impressed by the wide range of styles and subjects, and all of a very high quality. And so to me, the main goal of this was to help showcase some of the really amazing work that's going on out there, like Stephen Peck's story, for example, that we just heard a little bit about. And so to me, it was a special pleasure to create that opportunity to show some of that work. And I hope that anybody who hasn't read the collection will run out and get a copy and check it out, because there are some great stories. Thanks.
I'll just add that, yeah, thank you so much to all the authors. We break this into 26 pieces. Just really great people doing really, really great stuff. And thanks so much to Signature for publishing and really going beyond the what seems to be kind of the standard now, but providing us with Stephen Carter as an editor to come in and go through another pass through all the stories and give us some great recommendations. So we really appreciate that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Robert and Andrew. This is a fantastic collection. I highly recommend you pick this up if you haven't yet. All right, next we're going to move on to criticism. This category considers nonfiction critical scholarship, both books and articles, that consider artistic and media works created by Mormons. Our finalists are Mason Allred, Michael Austin and Rachel Help, Stephen Carter, Gavin Feller, and Nicholas Frederick. And our winner is, we have two winners for this category. Mason Allred's Seeing Things, Technologies of Vision and the Making of Mormonism, and Gavin Feller's Eternity in the Ether, a Mormon Media History. Here's the award citation. These books read like two halves of the same story. It felt natural that they should receive this award together. By reading both, the reader gets a comprehensive vision of how Mormon beliefs and practices intersect with media technologies, with Seeing Things focused more on the 19th and early 20th centuries, and Eternity in the Ether picking up with the invention of radio and going into the early 21st century. Seeing Things has a strong literary style that can be rare in works of criticism. We loved the analogy of ghosts that tied all the chapters together. Added to this is a deep understanding of the theoretical foundations of the subject and a clear presentation of the historical context of lost media technologies. The specific pieces that Allred chooses to analyze are intriguing in their own right, while also providing a strong, continuous narrative of the unique way Mormon theology engages with the material and the visionary. Eternity in the Ether provides detailed archival work, as well as interviews that chart new terrain in our understanding of the Church's adoption of mass media technologies. The detailed behind-the-scenes look at the rise of the Mormon media machine provides context for how church media became what it is today, as well as a glimpse of alternative paths not taken. Feller ties these stories to a greater historical perspective, putting forward Mormon media history as relevant to American religious and media studies as a whole. We believe that together, these books provide an essential and unique framework for future studies of Mormon media, culture, and literature. I believe we have Mason here today. Would you like to say anything?
I don't see that he's here, actually. Mason, are you here? I don't think he is.
Okay. And Gavin's not here either?
No, I don't think so.
All right. You'll just have to read these fantastic books to get an idea of the voice of these authors. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our next category, which is film. This category honors any film or TV show, including shorts, feature-length, narrative, or documentary that premiered in 2023. And the winner for this category is 95 Senses. Jared and Jerusha Hess were directors, Chris Bowman and Hubble Palmer are the screenwriters for this piece, and Kelly Loosely was the executive producer. This 14-minute film was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. Here's the award citation written by Barrett Bergen. From arguably the most eminent filmmakers to emerge from the Mormon tradition, 95 Senses reminds us what elevates the work of Jerusha and Jared Hess to another level and leaves a profoundly spiritual impact. On a technical level alone, the film is a masterpiece. Having various animators represent the 5 human senses is a brilliant way to let the tapestry of the work itself embody the diversity of physical experience. Tim Blake Nelson delivers an understated but moving performance as the everyman, Coy. The film carefully reveals Coy's character and the sin he is about to pay for. The piece interrogates death by reminding us of life and teaches us not to relegate others into binary boxes. For Jared and Jerusha to step so comfortably away from humor into a warm, dramatic piece is noteworthy. I was moved by the sheer weight of empathy and that the directors exude. The film is perfectly compassionate and demonstrates grace, atonement, hope for the beyond, and the celebration of a mortal body in ways that are difficult to put into words. It is significant to me that even in Jerusha's stated departure from organized religion, her film is still beautifully embodies a universal spirituality so familiar to Latter-day Saints. It is, in my opinion, the Hess's most transcendent work. We have a trailer from the film we'd like everyone to see.
Could you hear it?
No, we couldn't hear it when you started.
Okay, yeah, I think I need, because I was muted. So, and so maybe not sure.
When we die, our 5 senses shut down one by one in this order. First, we lose our sense of smell. That goes as soon as we stop breathing. Next is sight. Blood leaves the head. Picture goes black. Then it's a horse race between touch and taste as the feeling drains out of our limbs and tongue. Last to go is our hearing. That's why nurses in terminal care, even after a patient codes out, well, they'll tell a family, keep talking. Grandma can still hear you. Look, nobody knows till they know. I read a theory somewhere. It might be that we humans have 100 senses, but we're only aware of the 5. Maybe when we pass away, as those 5 perish, the other ones switch on. That could be the afterlife, enjoying our 95 other senses. That's a nice thought.
Thank you, Andrew. And we have Kelly Loosely, the executive producer, who's here to accept the award for us. Kelly is the co-creator of the animation program at Brigham Young University.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We were a little shocked by this invitation, actually, because we don't did not necessarily inherently think of this as a Mormon effort. And I think that's why they chose me, because I'm the BYU professor, to accept this. This was made through the efforts of MAST, which is a division of the Salt Lake Film Society. We focus on the communal experience of actually viewing and participating, engaging in cinema in a group environment, in a group setting. We run the Broadway cinemas, and we recently bought the Tower Theater, and we're in the process of restoring that. But this project, which the write-up was so lovingly describing, really was an amazing journey for us. And I don't want to dismiss the Hesses, but I also want to make sure that I shout out to Chris Bowman and Hubble Palmer, because the writing is so elegant and so lovely. And subject matter about like capital punishment, which can be very controversial. They really thread that needle so well that conservatives thought we were conservatives and liberals thought we were liberals, and everybody came away touched and uplifted and really had a really human experience. So much like some of the others here, I've been in the industry for a long time. So it was lovely to, like many of our LDS experiences, volunteer for something that eventually took me to the Academy Awards. So after years of slaving away in the industry, my volunteerism has paid off, and I had a lovely time at the Academy Awards. Although we lost, it was joyful, and we appreciate this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. We know that this one is more important than the Academy.
That's right. It makes us feel a lot better about the loss.
All right, that was fantastic.
It's only 14 minutes long. It's available on YouTube, so everybody please go watch it.
Thank you, Andrew. I wanted to see where I could find that piece. All right, we're going to move on to our Picture Book Award. We have some fantastic finalists here. The pictures look absolutely beautiful. And our winner for this award is My Big Embarrassing Elephant, text by Angie Lucas, illustrated by Pierre Collet-Derby. Here is the citation. Mac Barnett once said that it's easy to write a picture book, but hard to write a good one. A good picture book makes it look easy, and My Big Embarrassing Elephant is an excellent picture book. On the surface, the story is about a girl with a stinky elephant at home. Children will laugh as they see the sister literally dancing around the elephant, or the mom sweeping the elephant under a dusty rug. But the story is much more than that. For children living with difficult or embarrassing situations at home, they'll see their own circumstances in the girl's attempts to hide the elephant from neighbors and potential friends. This is a hopeful story and a helpful one, teaching both children and adults that you're not alone in your struggles and you don't need to hide. As the author herself says, sunlight is the best antidote to shame. Angie, do you have anything to say about this fantastic picture book that you've written?
Yes, thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here among so many writers I've read and admired for so many years. And interestingly, one of the nonfiction nominees was my senior class president at Bingham High School, class of 1994. And I have to say hi to Carol. WIFR was also my first writing conference in 2016, and that's where I met the editor of my first book. So that's so exciting to be here when Carol wins this much deserved award. And thank you so much to the Association for Mormon Letters for recognizing My Big Embarrassing Elephant. Every picture book I write is for my past self, touching on themes and lessons that I wish I had understood as a child. This is also a pandemic book written during a time when many problems felt way too big to talk about. My hope with this story is to help children recognize that ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. And as you said, that sunlight is the best antidote for shame and embarrassment, a concept I have to credit to the work of Dr. Brene Brown. One fun fact I'd like to share about this book is that it was the very first title published by Marble Press, which is a new children's imprint based in the Bay Area. It was released last September, and there are now 15 titles either available or announced at Marble Press. So huge thanks to the team there, Susan Secchi, John Collins Black, and Michael Green, and to my wildly talented illustrator, Pierre Collet-Derby. And thanks so much to all of you.
Thank you, Angie. I see in the background you have My Big Dumb Dragon too, which is also a fantastic picture book.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to our last special award. This one is a special award in children's literature, and it's presented to We have the slide up. There we go. All right. The Book of Mormon Storybook by Josh and Sarah Saby and illustrated by Maddie Baker. This is a fantastic book, everyone. If you don't have it, run, don't walk to pick up a copy. And if you want to get a taste, Wayfair Magazine is serializing this piece so you can see the beautiful artwork and just the loving, perfect stories, really perfect stories that I've even shared also in Sunday school when I needed to correct people. Okay, here's the award citation. The Book of Mormon Storybook is a landmark achievement and a standout offering in the world of children's Book of Mormon adaptations. Accessible and gentle enough for children, while still being genuinely thought-provoking and moving. The 2 volumes in this series are those rare children's books worth owning, reading, and rereading. As a physical object, the set is beautiful and high quality, lovely to hold in your hand, with beautiful collage-style illustrations and text large enough for easily reading aloud. The stories and illustrations highlight characters who are often overlooked, like women and children, and movingly emphasize the divine humanity of every individual. Evident in these retellings is the author's hard-won belief that each person in every story is a real person, with real experiences and real emotions. The stories are skillfully written and thematically cohesive, effectively demonstrating how the Book of Mormon points to a loving God and works as an antidote to modern polarization and despair. It is an invaluable resource for anyone looking to re-encounter a familiar text with new eyes, and highly recommended to individuals and families of all ages. Josh, I believe we have you on the call. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's here or not. Unless he's one of the Zoom users. No, Josh? Okay, I don't think he's here.
All right, well, I can tell you this is a beautiful, beautiful book. So you should definitely get your hands on it, especially if you have children in your life or if you're a kid at heart. They just are able to describe these stories from the Book of Mormon in such loving, meaningful ways that, again, I've even shared in our adult Sunday school class. Really lovely book. All right, we're going to move on to podcasts. Each year, the judges have slightly different criteria for this section. This year, the judges focused on podcasts with a literary or media focus. We have here our 5 finalists. I've listened to all of them. They're all amazing. And our winner for this year is Pop Culture on the Apricot Tree, created by Liz Busby and Carl Creedy. Here is the award citation. The Association for Mormon Letters supports literature that is by, for, and about Mormons. If we isolate those 3 poles, we find that much has been written about literature that is by or about Mormons. However, the question of what it means for literature to be for Mormons, i.e., what it means to engage with something as a Mormon audience, has sometimes been harder to grasp. The creators of Pop Culture on the Apricot Tree turned that question on its side by instead asking, what if everything was made for us? The hosts and guests never claim to speak for all Mormons, but their project inherently presupposes that Mormonism, our doctrine, culture, and values, is a worthy lens through which to view and analyze all media. Pop Culture on the Apricot Tree is ultimately an invitation to fellow Mormons to approach media not reductively, but expansively. Liz and Carl, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much. One thing that I've learned podcasting these last few years is that podcasting is in many ways a community endeavor. So I wanted to thank all the people who urged me to start this podcast and helped with the initial brainstorming. You know who you are. But I wanted to especially thank Robert Hall, who got us off the ground by editing the first few episodes so we wouldn't be so intimidated. And he did it to a standard that we've never been able to match. And thanks to Carl for coming on as a co-host and splitting the work with me, and to our spouses who put up with all the time we spend obsessively editing. Thanks to all the people who've said yes to invitations to be on the podcast. Your opinions and ideas made the show better, especially when you disagree with us. We love that. And thanks to everyone who listens to us. We really appreciate that.
I'd like to just thank the Association for Mormon Letters for recognizing our podcast. It's an honor to be here and to be recognized. I really liked the little citation that took my work as a podcaster and put it in a light that even I had not quite seen. So that's wonderful. Thanks to Liz for taking me on as a co-host. We recorded a number of episodes before we even met in person, and it's been a wonderful collaboration. I think we're a really good combination of nerdiness and insightfulness and just being Latter-day Saints. Our guests have all been wonderful. Thank you for participating in the conversation. Our hope has been to help people to realize that interacting with movies and TV shows doesn't have to be a passive experience, that you can watch them and enjoy them and talk about them. I remember years ago, someone in my friend circle, I forget who, said that he hated the standard date of dinner and a movie. And I said, well, the problem is you got to go to the movie first, because then you have something to talk about at dinner. And maybe that's not for everybody's taste, but it certainly is to mine. And I think this honor shows that we're succeeding a little bit in helping people to approach media a little differently. And that's an honor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz and Carl. This is a great podcast. And one of my favorite parts of this podcast is that you guys give recommendations, themed recommendations every time. So I'm always adding like, oh, I gotta watch that TV show. I gotta read that book. It's a really great podcast. All right, we're going to turn to our young adult novel category. We have some fantastic options here, and let's see who our winner is. It's Brandon Sanderson for Tress of the Emerald Sea. Here's the award citation. When master storyteller Brandon Sanderson pins a fantastical pirate adventure, you expect it to be a lot of things. Magical, imaginative, exciting, and unique. Tress of the Emerald Sea is all of these, but it's also so much more. Our intrepid heroine, Tress, is an ordinary young woman who lives an unremarkable life on a lonely island. When she learns that her best friend is in danger somewhere on the vast Spore Sea, she springs into action. Drawing on courage that she never realized she had, she stows away on a merchant vessel, learns it's captained by a bloodthirsty pirate, takes on the ship's most dangerous job, uncovers a sinister onboard plot, and soon finds herself on a quest to find and defeat an all-powerful sorceress. While the plot may not sound all that original, it's Sanderson's creative brilliance that elevates the tale from ordinary to anything but. Like Tress herself, the story contains hidden layers of depth and charm. The tongue-in-cheek narration gives the yarn a delightful Princess Brightish. While Tress is an understated heroine, her selfless compassion, humble demeanor, quiet courage, and hidden strength make her admirable and appealing. A supporting cast of entertaining characters, including a talking rat and an undead medical officer, adds humor, conflict, and variety. The rousing, rollicking plot keeps the reader's interest piqued through all of the book's 365 pages. While there is some heartbreak to be found within its pages, Tress of the Emerald Sea is a happy read that radiates warmth and heart. This entertaining tale will leave a smile on readers' faces while enchanting them through and through. Brandon Sanderson, of course, being a renowned author, is very busy and was unable to be with us tonight. But I can tell you, this is one of my son's favorite books that he's read this year. So it's a fantastic one. All right, we're going to move on to the Poetry Award. We're going to be honoring poetry books and chapbooks. We have 3 finalists, Susan Elizabeth Howe, Dana Patterson, and Darlene Young. And our winner is Darlene Young's collection, Here. Darlene Young's poetry in Here is visceral and true, in part because the subject matter itself is so real, but also due to her adept use of form and image and turns of phrase. She casts new light on relatable, everyday subjects, as well as familiar religious stories, such as the brilliant and devastating Tower of Babel, illuminating their true depth. In her own words, it's worthwhile to learn about something you love from a different angle. Even subjects such as motherhood that, in other hands, may feel overwrought or cliche, are masterfully lampshaded. Young's poems speak to the messy, celebratory joy of living in these beautiful, broken bodies of ours in a way that feels very Mormon, but also deeply relatable to others as well. Darlene could not be here today, but she did send a video accepting her award.
Dear AML, thank you so much. This award means very much to me. It wasn't until I discovered AML that I began writing seriously. And by seriously, I mean writing with the intention of finding an audience and a publisher. because it wasn't until I found AML that I really believed there might be an audience for what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was to explore the LDS worldview as honestly and affectionately and particularly and personally as I could. So AML, your work is important. You're doing something that I don't believe any other organizations are doing. From the beginning, you've been working to publicize and amplify and reward people who want to participate in this conversation about what an LDS literature is or can be. And you know, and I know that there's something, whatever it is, that is an LDS literature that's different from just work produced by people who happen to be LDS. And I continue to explore that in my own writing and see it as one of my primary interests and themes. So thank you so much. I also wanted to thank BCC. They are a volunteer-driven, nonprofit organization that continues to produce work that I am sure only very rarely earns back its cost of production. I know it's a labor of love for them, and they are also contributing to this conversation in important ways, and our culture is richer because of the voices that they publish. So thank you. And finally, I just wanted to recommend to anyone who is interested in poetry that you check out the collections of the other poets who were finalists this year. Dana Patterson and Susan Elizabeth Howe are phenomenal poets, and I continue to learn from them, and you will be rewarded if you check out their books. Thank you so much.
All right, our final award of the night is going to be a Lifetime Achievement Award for the author and educator, Chris Crow. The AML proudly presents its 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award to Chris Crow, an accomplished author, scholar, and teacher. Chris has not only published an impressive array of fiction for young readers, but he's championed young adult literature and the writers who crafted it throughout his career as a high school teacher and college professor. His work as a writer began during his years of teaching high school English in the 1980s, when he wrote a humor column for the Latter-day Sentinel and frequently wrote for The New Era and other related church productions. Since then, he's published both fiction and nonfiction for adult audiences, young adults, and even a picture book. Mississippi Trial 1955, published in 2002, is likely his most recognized book for young readers. With this book, Chris brought fresh and much-needed attention to the story of Emmett Till, a young Black boy who was cruelly lynched by white men in Mississippi, offended that Emmett had the temerity to interact with a white woman. Chris's novel powerfully brings Emmett's story and the larger conversation about civil rights and justice to a new generation. Telling the story from the perspective of Hiram, a white teenager who becomes involved in the prosecution of the men who murdered Till, Crow deftly presents readers with a different perspective about race relations, and the complicated history of the South. As Hiram grows to understand what's at stake in these events, so too does the reader gain an appreciation for both what is just and for the need to and consequences of standing up for what is right. The novel was honored on the American Library Association's list of best books for young adults. The extensive research that Chris did for the fictionalized account resulted the next year in a nonfiction book for young readers, Getting Away from With Murder, the true story of the Emmett Till case. In engaging details and photographs, this book reveals Emmett Till's life and character to readers and presents as balanced an account as possible of the events at the small Mississippi store that preceded Emmett's death. At the same time, the book provides compelling and revealing details about the history of racism and Jim Crow in the United States. Like its fictional counterpart, this book was recognized as a best book for young adults in 2004 by the ALA. In the years since their publication, both books have been read widely in public school classrooms, and Chris has graciously spent hundreds of hours in those same classrooms talking to students about the details of Emmett's life and death and the craft of writing. Death Coming Up the Hill represents Chris at his most experimental as a writer. Inspired by playing around with the haiku as a way of sparking writing, the novel evolved into 976 haiku stanzas, translating into one syllable for each of the 16,592 soldiers who died in the Vietnam War that tell the story of Ash, a young boy confronted in 1968 with the dissolution of his parents' marriage and the possibility of being drafted into the army to serve in Vietnam. While the book also touches on themes of racism, its focus is on the inner dialogue of a young man in uncertain and fractious times, both abroad and at home. The poetic format Chris chooses for the story allows him to share remarkable insights into this young man and bring his craft as a writer into new territory. As a scholar of young adult literature, Chris has focused his attention on the representations of African Americans in young adult literature, including giving close attention to the work of Mildred D. Taylor through his biography of her and a book on teaching her works in classrooms, and the life and career of Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall in the biography Up Close, Thurgood Marshall. He's also extensively explored sports in young adult literature, including his scholarly book, More Than a Game, Sports Literature for Young Adults, often arguing that stories about athletes and the games they play are about more than just the excitement of the game, but also about character and development. From 1998 to 2003, he wrote a regular column on young adult literature for English Journal, the premier academic journal for English teachers in the United States. In addition, he has published numerous articles about the genre in some of the best venues throughout his career. His published books and scholarly contributions have made an indelible impact on young readers and on the field of young adult literature. Equally important is the work he's done as a teacher and mentor, work that began as a high school teacher where he first engaged in his tireless ongoing efforts to pair young readers with well-written young adult books. Since being hired at BYU Provo in 1993, he's taught a young adult literature course of one form or another nearly every year. These courses have impacted hundreds of students as he has shared his extensive understanding of the genre, its history and its features, and his passion for the kinds of books that resonate with young readers. His teaching has been recognized for its quality and impact several times by the university, including more recently with its highest faculty honor, the Carl G. Mazur Distinguished Lecturer Award in 2020. As part of his teaching, Chris has also mentored formally and informally dozens of aspiring writers. He is an astute reader and has proffered insightful critique and encouragement across many decades for hundreds of students, several of whom have gone on to become published writers themselves. I think Chris was planning to make it tonight, but I think he was unable to. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so we don't have Chris with us, but we're honored to honor him. He is a fantastic addition to the world of Mormon literature, and we are so glad that for all the contributions that he's made. We'd like to thank all of you, our authors and creators, for attending and gracing us with your comments. We'd also like to thank you for the contributions that you make, the creative pieces that you put out into the world live as a part of you and touch all of us who are able to read and interact with them in some way. And we're so grateful for everything that you do as creators. This is the end of the award ceremony. We're going to immediately move on to an author's reading event, and the award winners will be reading short excerpts from their books. We'll also have a visual presentation from the comics and picture book authors and a video clip from the play Principal Wife. Please stay on. I was hoping to stay, but I'm going to have to turn it over to Andrew because I've just gotten word that my kids have gone feral and smashed the conch shell. So I need to get home and save my sister, the babysitter. But thank you so much for having me. This has been an honor to present these awards and be here with all of you fantastic writers and creators. I've loved it. It's been a fantastic evening. Andrew, I'm turning it over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Janine. Okay, well, it's getting a little late, so I know for those of you, depending on what time zone you're in. So, but this is one of my favorite things is to have the readings. So let's go ahead. If somebody like has an emergency, to I really gotta go do the next 30 minutes. If you can maybe send me a message in the chat, and I'll see what I can do. But how about Shannon? Would you like to go first? Are you still here with us?
Yes, I am still here, and I've got a mouthful of pizza. The first meal I've had today. So maybe let someone else go first, and I will go second or third. Thank you.
Okay. Carol, do you want to go next?
Sure. I don't have pizza in my mouth, so I will absolutely do it.
I'll share with you, Carol. I'm sending
Yay.
it to you.
Thank you. You're always so generous. I'm going to read. First, I'm going to take the candy out of my mouth. That's what I had in there. I'm going to read from The Chosen One. My agent said that that's what I should read, and I'm I apologize in advance if I do not do this very well because I'm going to be jumping through the pieces so that I can do it in 5 minutes. I'm going to read the entire novel to you in 5 minutes. If I was going to kill the prophet, I say, not even keeping my voice low, I'd do it in Africa. I look into Mariah's green eyes. She stares back at me and smiles like she knows what I mean and agrees, like she's saying, go on, Kira, tell me more. I kick the toe of my sneaker into the desert sand. I'm not sure how I'd kill him yet. I pause so Mariah can see I am dead serious, then take in a breath of air. But once he's gone, I'd drag his body right next to a termite nest. Not a thing would be left of him in 3 hours. There are termites in Africa that can do that to you. No one would even know whatever happened. Kira, Mother Claire calls. She stands on the porch next to her trailer, the light of her place spilling out around her. Her hands are on her hips. I see you out there. Come inside. You know we have company coming in a few minutes. Get in here now. Coming, I say. Mother Claire is the mean one. She's Mariah's mother, my father's first wife. My true mother, Mother Sarah, is sick and in bed with pregnancy. Mariah lets out a gurgle. Lucky girl, I say. You might sleep through this tonight. I hear their voices as I get closer, the kids as they hurry to meet at Mother Claire's trailer. Here are my brothers and sisters. Here are my father's children. Adam, Finn, Emily, Nathaniel, me. Jackson, Robert, Laura, Thomas, Margaret, Candace, Abe, April, Christian, Meadow, Marie and Ruth, Carolina, Trevor, Foster, Mariah, and 2 more babies on the way. We wait. Isn't this exciting, Mother Victoria says, the prophet and his apostles coming here. Father smiles. He pulls Trevor and Foster onto his lap. Maybe, Mother says, her words spilling out with hope. Maybe you have been chosen. I've been faithful, Father says. He looks around the room at his family. I've been a faithful disciple. I am warmed to the teeth at my father's smile. My good father. Okay. It's not just planning to kill a prophet. There's more. There's lots more. Squished between my sisters, I try not to think of my sins, but they are all in me. First, there are the books. Oh, my sins. A plan, books, and a boy. There's a boy. I am carrying the weight of what I have done. There's a knock. Please, please, Jesus, I'll believe. I'll be good if you choose my father. I'll never think of killing anyone again. I swear it. Father opens the door. Our prophet, he says. Brother Fields, Brother Stevens, welcome. Oh, Hiram, I didn't see you back there. Come in. Brother Carlson, the prophet says to Father at last. Father nods, hands clasped. His face is pink. I have joyous news. I have been in the belly of the temple for some time, thinking, praying. He points toward the light bulb and talking with God. It has been revealed to me that your oldest daughter, Sister Kira, is to wed Apostle Hiram Carlson. She will be his 7th wife in the Lord. The room goes quiet. Not one sound. I think, Father hasn't been called after all. And then the prophet's words sink in, sink in, sink in. Me? What? Me to be married? I think I have no blood. I think I've lost the ability to breathe. Uncle Hiram looks right at me. I feel my face burn. What? I say. Uncle Hiram nods. I will treat you well, Sister Kira, he says. We will raise children unto the Lord. Father says, Prophet Childs, I think there must be a misunderstanding. This man is my brother. How can this be? Is it for my sins? Have I punished us all for my thoughts, for the books, and for Joshua? Just like that, I'll be marrying my father's brother. Just like that, I'll be marrying my own uncle. So that's it.
Thank you, Carol. Okay. Margaret Olson says she's on the East Coast and she's would like to go next so she can go to sleep. So Margaret, go ahead.
Thank you. So I am choosing a section from volume 2 of the series, which deals with Mosiah and Alma. And this section deals with Alma chapter 43, verses 30 to 54, which is right in the middle of the wars between the Lamanites and the Nephites, these chapters that seem to go on and on with war strategy and battles. These verses are disturbing, even if the reader accepts the premise that the Lamanites bear all the responsibility for the conflict. The author does not shy away from the gruesomeness of war, calling it the work of death in verse 37, and describing how the Lamanites' lack of protection allows the Nephites to destroy Lamanite bodies. The Lamanites' terror as they repeatedly try to retreat, only to meet more of the Nephite military, is palpable. The river Sidon, the same site where only 13 years earlier the Nephites killed innumerable Lamanites and dumped their bodies, is again the location of a horrifyingly bloody war. It is probable that some people who fought in that original battle on the banks of Sidon fought in this one as well. It prompts a feeling of hopelessness and stagnation, as if the people have made no significant progress toward peace. They are simply stuck on an endless loop of repetitive violence. The grief this prompts may make readers want to turn away and focus instead on more hopeful, uplifting scripture. But the Book of Mormon does not shield its readers from the great failures of humanity. It does not excuse us from awareness of the grief and injustice of the world. It is a text which knows humans' capacity for horrific actions and asks readers to look at it clearly. War, enslavement, genocide, rape, and torture all appear in its pages, reminding us that these things occur throughout history and also every day in our modern world. God cares about the worst of humanity. Our scriptures tell us not to look away.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, so I think we're going to have Anna go next with her comic, Apos.
Great. And I think I'm pretty sure there's a visual aid on, yes. Awesome.
Oh, that's not the one though. Hold on. I got to get the right one up. Okay, I'm going to get it. Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. There we go.
Great.
Okay.
Oh, and that's actually the very last slide. So they're probably in reverse order. Filling. Oh, I think one's
all scattered order, maybe.
Hold on. Yeah, they might be scattered. Okay. Can you go to the menu? Just so I can see.
Yeah, that's good.
Like where they're at. Okay. Yep, it looks like they're a little bit out of order. Maybe, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Sure, you do it.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. I think I have an album specifically for this, so we'll see if, sorry, hold on one second.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Oh, no, I found it. We're good to go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep, looks good.
Great. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. We visited Elena for 9 months. The bishop mainly wanted us to check for wine in her fridge and to encourage her to receive her endowment. Elena was losing her memory. She didn't know she'd been baptized in Mexico 30 years ago. She would nod benignly at whatever was said, gripping her husband's gnarled hand tightly. But when we sang a hymn, her eyes would light up and she'd come alive. We cleaned, we sang, we walked, we prayed. Then I got a new companion. She said if Elena wasn't making any progress or going to church, we weren't being effective. She called it a waste of time. So we stopped going. As we walked, all I could think about were Elena's eyes and her hand waving to conduct the music. I'm home. I'm allowed to be alone. I felt restless at church. When Parker tried to hug me, I flinched as though it still wasn't allowed. I have my own phone, with no one looking over my shoulder. I can talk to my friends again. Eating is harder than I expected. At 1 a.m, I listened to Cold Coffee by Ed Sheeran. I don't know why being able to wear headphones again affected me so much. All I know is I started aching inside. The music washed over me as I shook. I have no idea who I am anymore. Right? That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. So what's your plan for publishing? You said it's going to be part of a larger.
Yeah. So I'm working with formerly Written Vision, now the Compass Gallery, because they're opening up a publishing branch. So I'm publishing with them and I'm really excited about it. Our hope is going to be, I think the middle of mid next year, sometime in May, probably. So yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you so much again.
So I think we're going to have creative nonfiction people. Sam and his daughter Amelia they're losing light where they are, so they wanted to go before they.
Great, thank you. I'm going to read something from the introduction because that is the writing that's from Melissa and Kate in this book. So I'm starting on page 7. And I think this speaks to their hopes in collecting these stories. We sincerely hope that readers, male, female, of varying ages, and with a different education and professional backgrounds, will see the commonalities that can foster belonging in the context of this book. In our own experiences with belonging and not belonging, we've come to see belonging as being a choice both on the part of the group and the individual. There are groups that just won't let us belong, full stop. But there are also times when we can choose to belong even when all aspects of the group aren't fortuitous. Many church members, including some contributors to this book, have set us an example of making this good and hard choice. We hope all can rejoice in our sisters, daughters, and friends whose varied circumstances and desires have moved them to achieve in the professional world and to gain increased capacity for the work of building Zion. Such work benefits us all. These essays are held together by the wonderfully encompassing language of the Revelation in D&C 88, verses 78 through 80. This passage of section 88 sets out a menu of all kinds of godly knowledge that will set a person on the path toward becoming more like our Mother and Father in heaven. We have used these categories to group contributions. First, with, open quote, my grace shall attend you, that you may be instructed more perfectly, we introduce scholars who testify how spiritual gifts have helped them make intellectual discoveries and teach with inspiration. Second, the section, quote, in theory, in principle, in doctrine, in the law of the gospel, of things both in heaven and in the earth and under the earth, gathers scholars in the sciences, including a botanist, a psychologist, a geologist, and a mathematician. A third section on, quote, things which have been, things which are, things which must shortly come to pass, things which are at home, things which are abroad, features historians. The fourth section, quote, the wars and the perplexities of nations and the judgments which are on the land, contains insights from those who deal with trauma and conflict. An emergency room doctor whose career was inspired by Mormon, the soldier historian, 2 legal scholars, and the judge of a high court. Finally, in the fifth and final section, quote, a knowledge of also of countries and of kingdoms, that ye may be prepared in all things which I shall send you again to magnify the calling whereunto I have called you. We meet scholars who cross national and cultural boundaries as they answer the Spirit's call to serve and understand their fellow beings. All of the contributors, while plainly acknowledging their shortcomings, the defaults of imperfection, and their ongoing need for grace, exemplify this passage's broad and fearless exhortation to learn, teach, and endeavor. They have served in the armed forces while in graduate school, tended small children while performing cutting-edge research, and broken new intellectual ground by drawing on knowledge and values embedded in their own cultures and family histories. They model how to think and how to be, how to analyze something up close, and how to see the big picture. With this holism in mind, why should we silo ourselves into one narrow disciplinary or epistemological mindset when, as Joseph Smith taught, the diligent pursuit of intelligence of all kinds will enrich God's children eternally? Contributors recount numerous shared challenges, such as disillusionment when church members behaved uncharitably, disorientation trying to satisfy church, family, and professional obligations, and resilience in pursuing every needful thing. Shieko Nishimura Okazaki, a teacher, school principal, and beloved Latter-day Saint general leader, taught, be spiritually independent enough that your relationship with the Savior does not depend on your circumstances or on what other people say and do. And explaining how their faith functions in the midst of messy human relationships, the book's authors model this independence. Faith is a commitment. While a lifeline, faith also complicates life. But we as editors add our voices to those in this volume who say that of life's needful things, faith is a rewarding one.
Thank you, Amelia.
Thanks.
Okay, Stephen Peck, are you still awake?
Just barely.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Okay, let me see if I can end. There we go. So this story is a story about an unlikely couple who moves to Pleasant Grove. I'll give you a little background so this section makes some sense. The two main characters are a woman from Israel who has suffered tremendously. She lost her best friend, who was a Palestinian, to a bombing, and her husband is a man from Senegal who also suffered in war in the fighting the insurrections in southern Senegal. And so I'll begin with that little introduction, and what I'm going to read should make sense. An old story of magic and impossibilities. They fell in love, married, and whatever winds blew them together, blew them to Pleasant Grove, Utah. He opened a bindery and continued this work, making the most beautiful Korans west of Dakar and selling them on the internet. She taught philosophy at Utah Valley University, and they bought a small house east of the junior high school with a white picket fence, a small lawn, and lilacs on every corner, and tulips in the spring. They attended the Mormon church not because they believed it, but because they loved their new community and found it the best way to be a part of it. It is here the story begins. Mbwabwe and Yonda found Pleasant Grove a strange culture. This is what Yana wrote in her diary. They enjoy a kind of performance military fervor, and yet despite such displays of nationalism, few have actually served in the military themselves or can speak to its reality. It feels strange, especially when the threats they face are distant and indirect. They love to wave the flags and shoot fireworks and highly value displays of patriotism, all the while creating mythic figures of their founders who are more like gods than humans. They often appear naive. They are rarely actually threatened, yet they seem to be filled with a great fear despite living in the safest place I've ever known. There is constant talk of the great evil of the day, but I have trouble getting them to articulate what it is exactly that they are afraid of. And they talk vaguely about the family being under attack and evil being abroad. They remind Zimbabwe of the Muslims in his village with rules about drinking and tobacco and the fears of demons. Despite these same strange particularities, they are mostly kind and willing to help each other. They care for those in their circle with a tenderness and with concern. And like all people, they love TV and computer games. And I must say, when all's said and done, I like them much and am comfortable here. The ward, as they call it, is making us feel connected in important ways. It's like a little kibbutz in the middle of the city. And they did like it here. However, they both suffered terrible dreams. The past had followed them across the oceans and mountains. When one would wake up in terror, sweating and screaming, the other would hold them and bring them the comfort of a warm body of someone who loved them. And once they woke up at the same time in panic and fear, and they looked at the state of dread and shock on each other's face, which mirrored their own, and they broke into laughter. Who should comfort whom? A lovely irony. One day, the bishop appeared at the Carvalho's home. I should say that they've been mistaken for a Brazilian couple, and they just let that slide. And so there was a mix-up in the ward clerk, and so they're known as the Carvalho family, even though that's not their real name. One day, the bishop appeared at the Carvalho's house, agitated and upset. There was a crisis in the ward, and he came to see if Bishop Carvalho had ever experienced its like. And Baye had tried to correct him about his serving as a Mormon bishop, but had given up and thought since he had spent a year in clerical training in Timbuktu, maybe that counted. The bishop explained as best he could a rift was developing in the ward. The first counselor in the Relief Society sold Sunshine Naturals essential oils in a multi-level marketing business. The second counselor sold Eternally Fresh essentials and oils, a similar company. At first, they carved out their own territories in the ward and kept it a cordial distance between their church duties and their growing business ventures. But the ward was approaching an almost even split in the women's downlines. And for the remaining uncommitted skeptics or holdouts, the competition had turned ugly. Half of the sisters were not speaking to the other half based on which oils they used. The bishop had been late in noticing the problem, and it had gotten fairly serious. As the bishop explained what was happening, the look on Yana's face went from disbelief to confusion and raw anger. The bishop became fairly uncomfortable as an animated conversation started between the Carvalhos in a foreign tongue. Sister Carvalho was almost yelling and was obviously disgusted and angry. Brother Carvalho was clearly sympathetic to what she was saying, but seemed more surprised than angry. She at last calmed down and asked a number of clarifying questions about the oils, their use, their intermittently stopping to explain things to Mbaye, who was just shook his head and said, we, obviously a Brazilian word. She thanked the bishop and said she would deal with the problem during her lesson on Sunday. He was surprised because he'd just come to get some advice from Bishop Carvalho, but the way Sister Carvalho had reacted and then said, I'll handle it Sunday, was so authoritative and certain, he felt comfortable feeling that she was right. A great air of satisfaction and spirit settled over him. He did not doubt her. He knew he had been inspired to visit them. It was a lesson the sisters would never forget. And I'll let you read that, what her lesson, if you want to know more. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. There's a reason why we put that as the capping story of the collection that Robert and I edited. Truly a beautiful story. Thank you. Okay, Karen, would you like to go next? You're still muted. Oh, you're still muted, Karen. Huh, you're,
Two paragraphs. You hear
There you
me? All right.
now you're right.
Cassandra Silberg has not come home to her Utah hometown for about almost 40 years after a sequence of estrangements, especially the loss of her child to adoption at that time called illegitimate. So she's coming home now, just driven from St. Paul to take care of her mother who's suffering from dementia. So she hasn't come home to Utah for a very long time. And this is her pulling into her mother's driveway after nearly 40 years. No sign of presence. The curtains are closed. Winter doors shut firm behind the summer screens. No one could possibly be inside, shut tight in this heat. Cassandra pictures her mother melted to butter. She considers pulling the car into the shelter of the carport, but it feels audacious. She is a stranger. She opens the windows and kills the engine here in the sun. An air conditioning unit hums ragged, set somewhere behind the west wall. Now she pictures Dorothy encased in Freon ice. Just get this over with. She opens herself out. Stepping onto hot concrete, Cassandra lifts her face north to the high granite of the Bighorn Range, close and distant and insistent. Snow clings in the shadow lines. She swivels rightward, holding her sight above the insult of grandiose rooftops. Her eye traces the summit lines as they collide with older Wasatch limestone, heading in another direction entirely. She's told herself, and her people beyond this place, that her first geography is no big deal, that memory is warped in hyperbole. She is likened to this return to revisiting a comically diminished first grade classroom. But it is not so. The upheaved stone magnitude cools her legs behind the knees, softens the small of her back, like a first hit of good tequila. Here we go.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting small number here. Oh, Shannon's not on the call anymore. Okay. Oh, she needed to go. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we missed her." Okay. Well, Taylor is going to show us a short scene from a song from the play, right?
Yeah,
and I believe
sure will.
So I will. Do you want me to share it? I think
Yeah,
I
you
have
can share it. I can just introduce it, but you can share it.
Go ahead.
Wonderful. This is really the show takes place or is set in Utah, 1872, and their farm is dying of a drought in southern Utah, and they've got an apple farm there, and Rebecca Tanner is the principal wife. Principal wife is obviously spelled principal, meaning the first wife, and when you're living the principal, it's an intended double entendre. But with her and him not being able to survive on their farm and having 3 kids, they're just deciding what they're going to do and how they're going to survive. And he convinces her to go to a dance, and a town dance, just to try to cheer up for a second. And in the midst of their heartache and heartbreak, they just mentioned to the bishop, that this is all going under, and their whole lives are coming to an end here on the farm. And if he has any ideas, he comes to them the next morning, very unexpectedly, about daybreak, and tells them that he did not expect this answer either, but he's there to tell them that they need to take another wife, that's the answer that he's been given. So they're like, yeah. So they don't accept this at all. They refuse to accept it, refuse to live it, and they will not abide this answer in any way. And she proceeds to sing a song called "The Answer Is No. Why can't I just let this go?" She goes, and 2 weeks go by. She still can't let it go until finally this scene, or this segment that you see, is where she walks into the house. And this is after she's been going through this pain of not saying yes to this. And this is the scenes, the segment that happens from here on out. So you can start that now, Andrew.
Okay, it's to share computer audio, please install Zoom audio device. Uh-oh, let's see. It'll still let me do it.
Elizabeth, somebody go get the doctor.
Benjamin, please, the baby was crying downstairs. Couldn't you hear? I needed your help. Doc Kimball, what are you doing here? What's
girls,
the matter with Elizabeth?
The girls were playing in the barn. They somehow loosened the brake on the wagon. It rolled over her legs.
She's burning up. Oh, dear God.
The next 48 hours will tell whether or not we can save her legs.
No, she can't lose her. You're not going to take them off.
It would take a miracle, Rebecca.
Then call for the bishop, give her a blessing.
Jessica, please come take baby Hannah just for a little while. Come on. Be careful. Watch your head.
I've seen this before, and if you don't amputate her legs, she will lose her life.
This is because of me, isn't it?
What?
This is God's punishment for my refusal to live the principle.
Rebecca, that's not the way God works, and you know it.
Then why now?
It was an accident, that's all.
It's in God's hands now, Benjamin.
Please, God, please don't do this. Let me die instead, please.
It's too bad the sound is not synced here.
I come to thee with broken heart. My life is spent and torn apart. I've no more strength to fight. I need thy hand, I need thy light. No more my will, but thine be done. It's hard for me to see the way, but show me how, and I'll obey. I'm ready now to start anew. Bless those I love and help us through. No more my will, but thine be done. Bring now the falling rain. Give strength against the pain. May flowers blossom once again. Let our children live to walk and run without a care. I promise not to stray. I'll follow. Show the way. For I believe in miracles. I come to thee with strength in heart. My life was spent and torn apart. How great thou art! I give to thee my trust. I need thy hand. I need thy light. No more my will, but thine. No more my will, but thine be done. No more my will, but thine be
Actually, it goes just another minute.
Oh, did it stop for me? I was at the ending of it for me,
Take
but
a
for
second
you.
Oh, that's all right.
What?
Mary Sarah
This-
Bradshaw.
There it
She's
is.
here to help you in the orchard.
But for me, yeah, for me, it's already ended.
The only chance we
Oh.
have at saving
No, that's too
Elizabeth's
bad.
legs is if
Oh, there. Huh. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, but
That's okay. She just comes back in and says, if living the principle will save our daughter's life, then I'll do it. And he says, damn this farm. And that's the end of the scene.
oh, I see. I see. The video was still going. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope now, do you have plans for future productions?
We do. As a matter of fact, we just recently had someone step up and he said he'd like to see this go further. We have, because I work with all the diplomats that are posted on the West Coast, we've been asked to take it to Hungary and to, well, Budapest, Vienna, and in Austria, and as well as Prague. So those three different countries have asked us to take it to them because each one of the consuls generals have seen it. And they say, listen, this will play in Europe forever. It's American. It's a Western. It's controversial, at least a little bit, and it's got everything that we've always wanted in an American piece. So we feel like it's all things that Europe wants to be, and they love the American West. It's their favorite thing. So it's a matter of just getting there. So we've got some wonderful people that want to help us take it there. We'll see if it happens.
Okay, great. And is the music available to buy?
As a matter of fact, we are literally finishing up the cast album this week, so it should be shortly available. I can send you the link to it as soon as I've got it.
Yeah, we'll include that in the award announcements.
Wonderful.
By the way,
Thank you.
We'll put up on the blog everybody's award citations. It's Sunday afternoon. I have people coming over, so it probably be another 24 hours or so before it does. But then you'll have, and some of these citations we edited for the broadcast, but the full citations will be up at least in the next 24 hours. Okay, I think Chad and Angie are our last two still hanging on. Oh, and we're doing juvenile literature, and we have our juvenile people last. That was totally wrong. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Chad, you want to go next, and then we'll have Angie?
Sure thing. I'll just give you a little taste. We'll do Juniper Berry. I'll do part of the first page and then skip to the end of the chapter. I can fox walk. Foxes can walk through the woods, hardly making a sound, spying on you, creeping into your chicken coop. They're sneaky, and so am I. I checked behind me and nobody seemed to have noticed that I slipped away. Perfect. My dad, Zephyr, taught me how to fox walk. With your knees bent, you step forward, landing on the outside part of the ball of your foot, then roll to the inside. Then you put your heel down as quietly as possible. It's a very useful skill to have. Moving quietly will help you see the deer rummaging through the brush or the squirrels gathering acorns without startling them away. It's helpful when you're playing predator and prey, and you have to hide from your little brother, or when you spy on your older sister when she's dancing by herself. And sometimes, like today, hopefully it helps you get out of doing laundry. I hate laundry. It's worse than ticks. Who wants to spend time squishing and rinsing clothes, squishing and rinsing, squishing and rinsing? With my mom, Clara, saying things like, did you know that in society, most people don't even know how to wash their laundry without using machines? She says it like scrubbing until your fingers are wrinkly as dried beans is something I should be proud of. Nah, washing clothes takes all day and ruins your chances of doing anything fun. So I'll skip. She steals the family bow and arrow and sneaks off, thinking that if she hunts something, that maybe they'll forgive her not doing laundry. She goes down, jumps in a fishing hole. Here's the end of the chapter. Unfortunately, in that moment, I heard something that made me shiver in the cool water. Footfall, heavy, like a creature who didn't care if it was heard. Something at the top of the food chain. Bear, most likely. And bears can swim. Situations like this were why I wasn't supposed to sneak off alone. The trees seemed to look down on me, wondering what I was going to do next. I swiveled my head in the direction of the sound and realized I might just have enough time to get out and get to the bow and arrows. Maybe. That's the end of the chapter.
Thanks, Chad. Okay, Angie. I think you're going to try to share a screen, right? See how that
Yes,
works.
we'll see if that works. And then I'm going to start the slideshow and tell me what you see. Can you see it?
Not yet. Oh, it's coming up. There it is.
Okay. Do you see the cover?
Yeah, the cover.
Okay. He's been there as long as I can remember. The big, embarrassing elephant in our living room. Mostly we don't talk about him or let anyone in to see him. because when we do, it doesn't go so well. Here's the thing about elephants. They make it pretty hard to see eye to eye or have a normal conversation. And even when they're not the center of attention, they always loom in the shadows. I wish things could be different, but no matter what I say, my dad won't look at him. My mom tries to sweep him under the rug, and my sister just dances around him. My family seems to think that the elephant is our little secret, but I have a feeling the neighbors are onto us. Sorry, Mr. Middleton, just practicing my trumpet again. I get so embarrassed that I want to scream. Can we please do something about the elephant in the room? Sigh. I guess I'll be stuck with him forever. Hi, I'm Serena. Can you play? Let's play out here. My mom has a mammoth headache. Knock, knock. We better go to your house. It's a zoo in here today. Knock, knock. Sorry, I have trumpet practice. I'll come over later. I think Serena's getting suspicious, but what can I do? No one wants to be friends with a girl who lives with a big, smelly elephant. At least, no one has so far. Knock, knock. Can't play. I've got a ton on my plate right now. Open up, Maya. I want you to meet someone. This is Elspeth. Can we come in? She's house-trained. You mean other families have elephants too? As it turns out, talking about elephants is a lot better than not talking about them, especially when you find a friend who understands. Serena says it helps to give your elephant a name and expose him to plenty of sunlight. It looks like we'll be stuck with Phil for a while, but that's okay, because things are getting better for all of us.
Yay. Thank you so much. All right. Now, actually, so we've got everybody, right? Nobody else here is waiting, right? Okay. Darlene Young gave us a video of her reading her poem, and it's about 5 minutes long. So everybody, feel free to go at this point. It'll be on the video, so you can go. You can watch that. If you'd like to stay, you can as well. But you don't feel like you need to. But I'm very excited to share this poem by Darlene. So I'm going to go to that, and here we go.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read for you. I wish I could be there with you and hear the rest of your readings, but today is the day of my father's funeral, so, that's where I need to be. Anyway, I've chosen a few poems to read to you. I chose ones that I think will give a good idea of the flavor of this collection. So this first one is called Lone and Dreary, Cain Comes Home from the Field, and it is a pantoum, which maybe if you're listening, you can hear how the certain lines repeat over stanzas that follow each other. It has an epigraph from Moses 5:11. Were it not for our transgression, we should never have had seed. Her son comes to her with a different face, without his brother. The closest word she's learned is winter. Without his brother, blood dripping to his elbows. Winter, a time of no fruit. Blood like her first blood, that yaw pang in the womb as her body prepared to bear fruit, her own seed. Now her womb wrenches at the sight of that blood, her own seed, looking strange, looking wild. The shine of slick blood like juice on his hands reminds her of the wild, strange taste of a fruit. Sticky juice on her hand, promising motherhood. So sweet was a taste of that fruit, she blessed it. Then motherhood, sweet tumble of boys, she called her choice blessed, rejoiced at their growth. The tumble of boys and then the horizon. They grew, natural to want to see for themselves. Horizon, a mother's fear. They must be allowed to see for themselves, but be home by dark. They must be allowed. But there are serpents, my sons, be home by dark. Such beautiful boys. Serpents, my sons. A man comes to her with a different face. Such beautiful boys. And now she learns winter. So this one, I'm grateful to Ariantum for first publishing this. A Plan of Salvation. And you have to note that the title doesn't say The Plan of Salvation. It says A Plan of Salvation. She was born healthy and bright to the right family, no trauma, no drama. In a neighborhood healthy and bright, probably white, no trauma, no drama. Good clothes, good looks, good music and books. Fell in love not too soon, lovely wedding, perfect groom, pleasant little honeymoon. Children came healthy and bright, only as often as the parents could afford. They played together, adored their mother and each other, grew up without trauma, married without drama to good people, raised right, a delight to their in-laws. And so it proceeded at just the right pace, well and right, until all that remained was retirement in a sunny place, not too far from the dear grandchildren, so sweet and polite, healthy and bright, a spot of golf, a cruise or two, and then she was through, dying pleasantly in her sleep. And then she dragged her milky, weak, underformed spirit limbs into the presence of her God and demanded her money back. Hell no, King Lucifer replied. You got everything right, just what you voted for. Sit, stay, fetch. Good girl. And finally, this is the last poem in my collection. I like to reserve that spot in my books for my testimony. So this is a testimony of sorts called The Mirrored Ball Never Gets Taken Down. Each morning, God saunters over to me, shy wallflower, and boldly extends his hand. We dance. Sometimes I put on my flared skirt and polka at the picnic, reel at the barbecue. But some days I drift about in stained sweatpants, slumping against him like a 15-year-old with mean parents and a curfew. Still, every morning he shows up, jerks his head meaningfully towards the dance floor, and I keep reaching out my hand. Each night he returns me singed and yawning, but sometimes summons me 3 hours later for the meteor shower fussy baby pajama hokey pokey. I will hell yes. I will hail dance, drum circle, even as my heavy feet and heavy heart stumble no, no, no with each systole. I will diastole back, yes, 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 tush push and boot scoot, yes to the twirls, yes even to the heart-dropping dips, the chicken walk, holy Macarena. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Darlene. All right, we're wrapping up here. Thank you so much for everybody for this great year. It's wonderful works, and I look forward to seeing what happens next year. We're going to meet live next year together with the Mormon Scholars in Humanities Conference at Snow College in Ephraim. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.